Commander He-yun gripped the control panel as her ship shook violently. Outside the viewport, the black emptiness of space lit up with flashes of red and blue as weapons fire crossed between the ships. "Status report," she shouted, her voice steady despite the chaos. Officer Jin looked up from his screen, face pale. "Not good, Commander. 3 ships lost. Our shield is at 20%. He-yun nodded, her face showing no fear. She had been in worse battles before. The Stellar Alliance had trusted her with this mission, and she would not fail. "All fighters, form up on my position," she ordered through her helmet comm. Her powered armor hummed around her body, responding to her movements like a second skin. The blue lights along its joints glowed brightly against its silver surface. The Void Dominion had surprised them near the neutral planet Terrace. Their black ships had appeared suddenly from behind the small moon, weapons already firing. Hayden's squadron had been on a routine patrol, not ready for a major fight. "They're targeting our engines," reported Ta, her weapons officer. Sweat ran down his face as his fingers moved quickly over the controls. He-yun made a quick decision. "Break formation. All ships scatter and regroup at Point Delta." As her orders went out, a massive blast hit her ship. The lights flickered, and warning alarms blared throughout the bridge. "Direct hit to our main power system," Jin shouted over the noise. He-yun felt her armor stutter. The smooth movements became jerky, and the blue lights flickered. A display inside her helmet flashed red warnings she had never seen before. "My armor is malfunctioning," she said, trying to move her right arm. It responded slowly, fighting against her. Another hit rocked the ship, throwing crew members to the floor. He-yun stayed standing only because her armor, even damaged, kept her in place. "Commander, we can't take another hit like that," Ta warned. Looking out at the battle, He-yun saw 2 more Alliance ships explode in silent bursts of light and debris. Her heart sank, but her face remained calm. Her crew needed a leader now more than ever. "Set course for Terrace," she ordered. "We'll try to lose them in the atmosphere." "But Commander," Jin protested, "Terrace is inhabited by humans. The Alliance forbids contact with them. They're not ready for." "We have no choice," He-yun cut him off. "It's either that or be destroyed here." As the ship turned toward the blue-green planet below, He-yun's armor gave another worrying shudder. The power level dropped to 50%, then 30%. Parts of it locked up completely, making it hard to move. The ship entered Terrace's atmosphere with the Void Dominion in pursuit. Flames licked at the viewport as the outer hull heated up from the entry. "Aim for that mountain range," He-yun pointed with her functioning arm. "The peaks might give us cover." Tai tried his best to steer the damaged ship, but another hit from behind sent them spinning. Warning lights turned the bridge red as systems failed one by one. "Brace for impact," He-yun shouted as the ship plummeted toward the surface. Her armor gave one final warning beep before shutting down completely, becoming nothing more than heavy metal pieces wrapped around her body. Without its power, she couldn't move properly. As the ground rushed up to meet them, He-yun thought of her home world, of her family, of all she had fought to protect. The ship crashed into a forest clearing with a deafening roar. Metal tore, glass shattered, and the world around He-yun went dark as she was thrown against a wall. Her armor, once her greatest protection, now became a prison of lifeless metal as consciousness slipped away from her. The last thing she heard was the fading sound of the Void Dominion ships passing overhead, presumably satisfied they had completed their mission. The battle was lost, and on an unknown world, surrounded by the wreckage of her ship, Commander He-yun lay still. Pain was the first thing He-yun felt when she woke up. Her head throbbed, and something warm trickled down her face. Blood, she realized. The second thing she noticed was that she couldn't move properly. Her armor, once responsive to her slightest movement, now weighed her down like a metal coffin. Smoke filled the bridge. Through cracked viewport glass, He-yun could see trees and blue sky. Not space. They had crashed on terrace. Jin? Ta? Anyone? She called out, her voice hoarse. A weak cough answered her. Commander, over here. Hei-yun turned her head to see Jin pinned under a fallen beam. His face was pale, but he was alive. With great effort, she pushed against her dead armor, forcing the joints to move without power. Each movement was exhausting, but slowly she freed herself from the command chair. Status report, she said automatically, though it was clear their situation was dire. Bad, Commander, Jin replied. Very bad. I've checked the systems I can reach. Communications array destroyed. Life support failing. Engine core damaged but stable. Hei-yun nodded grimly. The crew. Jin looked down. From what I can tell, half didn't survive the crash. Tai is alive but badly hurt. He's in the medical bay with Su and Young. Hei-yun felt a stab of grief but pushed it aside. There would be time to mourn later. Now she needed to focus on the survivors. The distress beacon, she asked, though she already feared the answer. Damaged in the crash. It's sending, but at reduced power. It might reach the Alliance, but it could take weeks. Hei-yun looked out at the alien world they had landed on. Terrace. Home to humans, a species considered too primitive and volatile for official contact by the Stellar Alliance. Yet here they were, crashed on their planet with no choice but to survive until rescue came. Help me out of this armor, she said to Jin. It's useless now, and I can barely move. Together, they worked to release the emergency latches. Piece by piece, the once magnificent powered suit came off, revealing Hei-yun's slender form in the simple black bodysuit worn underneath. She stretched her freed limbs, wincing at various injuries, but grateful to move without the armor's dead weight. Put the armor in storage, she ordered. We might need parts from it later. Free of the armor, Hei-yun explored what remained of their ship. The damage was extensive. The main hull had split open, leaving the forest floor visible through massive tears in the metal. Equipment lay scattered and broken. The medical bay was intact, but running on emergency power. Tai lay on one of the beds, unconscious but stable. Young sat nearby, her arm in a makeshift sling. Su worked with the medical computer, his movements slow due to his own injuries. Commander, Su greeted her. I've done what I can, but our supplies are limited. Hei-yun took stock of their situation. 5 survivors out of a crew of 12, a damaged ship, limited supplies, and no immediate rescue. And they were on a planet where they weren't supposed to be. As night fell, strange sounds came from the forest around them. The ship's sensors showed no immediate threats, but Hei-yun posted guards anyway. She stood at the broken viewport, watching unfamiliar stars appear in the sky. Will the Alliance find us? Jin asked, joining her. Yes, Hei-yun said with more confidence than she felt. But we need to prepare for a long wait. She gazed at the alien forest, dark and mysterious. Somewhere out there were humans, beings they had studied from afar, but never met. Now, they might not have a choice. Rest while you can, she told Jin. Tomorrow, we salvage what we can from the ship and assess our surroundings. As Jin left, Hei-yun remained at the viewport. Her armor lay in pieces in storage. Her ship was destroyed. Half her crew was dead. The battle was lost. But Hei-yun was still a commander of the Stellar Alliance, and she would find a way to save those who remained, no matter what it took. 3 days passed since the crash. Hei-yun stood outside the broken ship, studying the forest around them. The air of Terrace was clean and fresh, but strange to her lungs. Birds called from the trees, their songs unlike any she had heard before. Jin approached her, carrying a small device. Commander, our food supplies are running low. The synthesizer is damaged beyond repair. Hei-yun nodded. This was yet another problem they faced. We'll need to find local food sources. But we must be careful. We don't know what's safe for us to eat. As they spoke, a sound came from the forest, a cracking of sticks and rustling of leaves. Hei-yun tensed, reaching for her sidearm. "Get back to the ship," she ordered Jin. "Alert the others." Jin retreated quickly while Hei-yun stood her ground, weapon raised toward the sound. She remembered her training about humans. Unpredictable, emotional, but intelligent. Potentially dangerous. A figure emerged from between the trees. Hei-yun blinked in surprise. The human was smaller than she had expected, with dark hair and curious eyes. Male, she determined, dressed in simple work clothes. He carried a bag over his shoulder and a strange tool in his hand. The human stopped when he saw Hei-yun and her weapon. His eyes widened, not in fear, but in amazement. He looked at her, then at the crashed ship behind her. "Hello," he said softly, raising his empty hand in what seemed like a peaceful gesture. Hei-yun kept her weapon steady. "Identity yourself," she demanded, though she knew he wouldn't understand her language. The human pointed to himself. "Do-yoon," he said clearly. Then he pointed to her, tilting his head in question. Hei-yun hesitated. Contact with humans was forbidden. But their situation was desperate. Slowly, she lowered her weapon. "Hei-yun," she replied, pointing to herself. The human, Do-yoon, smiled. He pointed to the crashed ship and made motions with his hands that suggested damage, then raised his eyebrows in question. Hei-yun nodded. "Yes, we crashed." Do-yoon seemed to understand the tone, if not the words. He put down his bag and opened it, pulling out containers. He offered one to Hei-yun, pantomiming eating. The scent from the container made Hei-yun's stomach rumble. Their food analyzer was broken, but she had to take a risk. She accepted the container and took a small taste of the food inside. Something warm and savory. It didn't burn her tongue or cause immediate reaction. "Thank you," she said in her language, nodding to show gratitude. Jin emerged cautiously from the ship, followed by Sue. They stared at the human with a mixture of worry and curiosity. "Commander," Jin whispered, "the Alliance protocols." "I know the protocols." Hei-yun cut him off. "But we may not survive without help." Do-yoon watched this exchange with interest. Then he reached into his bag again and pulled out bandages and what looked like medicine. He pointed to the ship, making gestures that asked if anyone was hurt. Hei-yun turned to Sue. "Our medical supplies are limited. Can we use human medicine?" Sue looked uncertain. "It's risky, Commander. But Tae's condition is worsening." Hei-yun made her decision. She led Do-yoon toward the ship, indicating he should follow. The human's face lit up with excitement as he entered the alien craft, looking around in wonder at the technology. When they reached the medical bay, Do-yoon's expression changed to concern as he saw Tae and Young. He approached carefully, examined their injuries, and began taking items from his bag. "Watch him," Hei-yun told Sue. "If he does anything suspicious, stop him." But Do-yoon worked with gentle efficiency, cleaning wounds and applying medicine. He spoke softly in his language, his tone soothing. As Hei-yun watched, she noticed Do-yoon's eyes straying to her damaged armor stored in the corner. He pointed to it, then to himself, making a fixing motion with his hands. "He wants to look at your armor, Commander," Jin said. Hei-yun studied the human's face. There was no fear there, only curiosity and something else. Intelligence, problem-solving. Against all protocols and her better judgment, Hei-yun nodded. Perhaps this human named Do-yoon could surprise them all. A week had passed since Do-yoon first found the crashed ship. Each day, he returned with food, supplies, and a growing excitement about his new alien friends. Today, he sat cross-legged on the floor of the ship, facing Hei-yun as they tried to learn each other's languages. "Sky," Hei-yun said, pointing upward. "Sky," Do-yoon repeated, then said a word in his own language. Hei-yun tried to copy the sound, making Do-yoon smile and nod. Their simple lessons had helped them build a small set of shared words. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Jin watched from nearby, still uncomfortable with the situation. "Commander, we're sharing too much with him. The Alliance would not approve." "The Alliance isn't here," Hei-yun replied. and without his help, Ta might have died. It was true. The human's medicines had helped stabilize Ta, who now sat up in his bed for short periods. Yun's arm was healing well too. Do-Yun pulled out a small device from his pocket, a simple electronic tablet. He tapped it and showed He-Yun images of his home. It was a small building nestled against the mountains, far from other human dwellings. Alone? He-Yun asked, using one of their new shared words. Do-Yun nodded. Yes. Alone. He made gestures with his hands, mimicking working with tools. He lives alone and works with his hands, He-Yun told the others. That might explain why he hasn't reported us to other humans. Su joined them, carrying He-Yun's damaged armor. Over the past days, he had been trying to repair it with no success. The power core was completely dead, and the neural interface that allowed the armor to move with the wearer was shattered. Do-Yun's eyes lit up at the sight of the armor. He stood and moved closer, asking permission with his eyes before touching it. He-Yun nodded, and he ran his fingers over the damaged sections with surprising gentleness. May I? He asked in He-Yun's language, one of the few phrases he had learned. He-Yun hesitated only briefly before nodding. Do-Yun carefully examined each piece of the armor, particularly the power connections and joint mechanisms. He made sounds of interest and took pictures with his tablet. Commander, Su said quietly, I think he understands more than he should. No primitive species should be able to make sense of our technology so quickly. He-Yun watched Do-Yun work. Perhaps the Alliance has misjudged humans. They're listed as pre-interstellar, technological but unstable. But I see more than that in him. Do-Yun looked up and tapped his chest. Engineer, he said in his language, then repeated it until they understood. He's an engineer, He-Yun translated. That explains his interest in the armor. Do-Yun then began to tell them, through a mix of simple words and hand gestures, about his life. He had worked for a large company but left to live in the mountains, where he could create and build things his own way. He showed them pictures of machines he had fixed and improved. Why alone? He-Yun asked, genuinely curious about this human. Do-Yun's expression turned thoughtful. He pointed to his head, then to his heart, then made a wide gesture toward the mountains and sky. I think he means he needs freedom to think and create, Jin suggested, his initial distrust slowly fading. As the evening approached, Do-Yun prepared to leave. But before going, he pointed to the armor again, then to himself, then made a motion of returning. He wants to take the armor to his workshop, Su said, alarmed. He-Yun shook her head. No, I think he's saying he'll come back to work on it. Do-Yun nodded vigorously, understanding. He pointed to the rising moon, then held up 3 fingers. 3 days, He-Yun guessed. He needs 3 days to think about how to fix it. As Do-Yun left, promising to return the next day with more food, He-Yun felt something she hadn't felt since the crash. Hope. This human, this engineer who chose solitude and creation over his own society, might be the key to their survival. And perhaps, she thought as she watched him disappear into the forest, the Alliance was wrong about more than just the human's technical abilities. 3 days passed, and Do-Yun returned to the ship carrying a large bag of tools. His face showed excitement as he greeted He-Yun and the others. Their shared vocabulary had grown, making simple conversation possible. I have idea, Do-Yun said proudly, pointing to the damaged armor. He-Yun nodded, curious but cautious. Show me. Do-Yun laid out his tools and several small devices he had brought. He then asked for permission to examine the ship's damaged systems. After a brief discussion with her crew, He-Yun agreed. Jin, go with him, she ordered. Make sure he doesn't access any restricted areas. Do-Yun spent hours studying the ship's engine room, power systems, and the broken pieces of He-Yun's armor. He took notes on his tablet and made sketches. Sometimes he would nod to himself, as if confirming a theory. What do you think he's doing? Young asked, watching from the doorway. Learning. He-Yun replied. And I believe he's seeing connections that even we missed. By evening, Du-Yun gathered everyone in the main area of the ship. Using his improved language skills and many hand gestures, he explained his plan. Armor need power, he began, pointing to the dead power core. Ship have power, but different. He showed them a diagram he had drawn. I cannot fix original power system, but I can make new one. Sue looked skeptical. That's impossible. The armor requires quantum-stabilized energy that this planet's technology can't produce. Do-Yoon seemed to understand the doubt. He smiled and pulled out a small device he had built. It contained parts from the ship mixed with Earth technology. He connected it to a piece of the armor, and to everyone's surprise, the lights flickered briefly to life. How? Sue asked, amazed. Do-Yoon tried to explain through their limited shared language. Your power system, very complex. But basic principles, simple. I cannot make same, but can make similar. He-Yun studied the device. He's created a power converter using parts from our ship and his own technology. It's crude but functional. That's just the power system, Jin pointed out. The neural interface is completely destroyed. Without it, the armor can't respond to your movements. Do-Yoon nodded, understanding. True. Neural system. Too complex. He then showed them another sketch, but can make mechanical system instead. His plan was ingenious in its simplicity. Instead of rebuilding the advanced neural interface, Do-Yoon proposed a direct mechanical control system. The armor would be less responsive than the original, but it would function. Will not be same, Do-Yoon admitted. Will be heavier, slower, but will work. He-Yun considered the proposal. The human had surprised her again with his understanding of their technology. How long will it take? Do-Yoon held up his hands, fingers spread wide. 10 days. Need parts from ship. Need tools from my home. A warning alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Jin rushed to the sensor panel. Commander, the long-range scanners are picking up something. Void Dominion energy signatures. He-Yun's face darkened. How many? Small scout ship, probably checking to confirm our destruction. Everyone fell silent. Do-Yoon looked at their worried faces, not understanding the words but sensing the danger. Problem? He asked He-Yun. He-Yun hesitated, then decided he deserved the truth. Bad people, she said in simple terms. The ones who attacked us. They are coming. Do-Yoon's expression changed as he understood. He pointed to the armor, then to He-Yun, then made a fighting gesture. Yes, He-Yun confirmed. I need the armor to fight them. Do-Yoon thought for a moment, then held up 5 fingers instead of 10. 5 days, he said with determination. Work day, work night. He-Yun looked at her damaged armor, then at the human engineer whose eyes showed both concern and confidence. She had no choice but to trust him. 5 days, she agreed. We'll help you. Do-Yoon nodded, already gathering the armor pieces. For the first time, He-Yun saw not just a primitive human, but a brilliant mind that might save them all. Do-Yoon hardly slept for the next 4 days. He worked tirelessly, his hands moving with careful precision as he rebuilt He-Yun's armor piece by piece. The aliens watched him with growing respect as he solved problems that had stumped even their advanced minds. How does he do that? Jin asked as Do-Yoon connected a power line using a method they had never considered. He-Yun observed the human's work. He thinks differently. Our engineers are trained to follow certain rules and patterns. Do-Yoon doesn't know those rules, so he finds new paths. On the morning of the 4th day, Do-Yoon brought the chest piece of the armor to He-Yun. It looked strange now, with human-made parts mixed with the original alien technology. Wires and tubes connected where smooth surfaces had once been. Small mechanical joints had replaced the neural sensors. Try, Do-Yoon said, holding it up. He-Yun slipped the chest piece on. It felt heavier than before, but as Do-Yoon activated the power source, she felt the familiar hum of energy. The lights glowed, not the original blue, but a warm yellow. "It works," she said, surprised. Do-yoon smiled proudly. "Different system. Your armor uses tiny machines, very small." He pinched his fingers together to show microscopic size. "My system uses bigger parts, more simple." Hae-yun moved her arms, testing the response. It wasn't as smooth as her original armor, but it responded to her movements. "One more day," Do-yoon promised. "Finish leg pieces. Arm pieces need more work." That night, as Do-yoon continued working, Hae-yun sat beside him, helping where she could. Their language barrier had lessened, and they talked more easily now. "Why help us?" Hae-yun asked the question that had been on her mind. "You could have reported us to your government, or just left us alone." Do-yoon was quiet for a moment as he connected wires inside the armor's left arm. "I always believed we not alone in space. Meeting you, dream come true." He paused, looking for words. "Also, you needed help. Simple. Not all humans would see it that way," Hae-yun said. "Not all humans like me," Do-yoon agreed with a small smile. "I see problems, want to fix. Many people see differences, get scared." As they worked, Do-yoon explained his approach to the armor. In place of the quantum-stabilized power source, he had created an energy converter using parts from the ship's backup systems. Instead of the neural interface that read Hae-yun's thoughts, he built mechanical sensors that responded to pressure and movement. "Your technology very advanced," he said, "but sometimes simple solutions work too." He showed her how he had replaced the armor's damaged joint servos with mechanical pivots of his own design. They were bulkier but stronger in some ways. Alliance engineers would never think of this, Hae-yun admitted. They would try to rebuild the original systems exactly. "Sometimes new problems need new thinking," Do-yoon replied. By dawn of the 5th day, the armor was nearly complete. Do-yoon attached the final leg piece and stood back, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Ready for test," he announced. Hae-yun put on the full armor for the first time since the crash. The others gathered around to watch. The process took longer than before, without the auto-assembly features. Do-yoon and Sue had to help attach each piece manually. When the last piece was in place, Do-yoon activated the main power switch he had installed on the chest. The armor hummed to life, its lights glowing throughout the modified suit. Hae-yun took a step, then another. The movements were stiffer than her original armor, requiring more conscious effort. But it worked. She could move, and the armor amplified her strength as she lifted a heavy piece of ship debris. "Different," she said, looking at her hands in the rebuilt gauntlets. "But good." Do-yoon beamed with pride. Then his face grew serious as he pointed to the ship's sensor display, where the Void Dominion signal grew stronger. "Ready to fight?" he asked. Hae-yun nodded, testing the armor's range of motion. "Thanks to you, yes." What the armor lacked in elegance, it made up for in function. Human ingenuity had given her a second chance. The ship's alarm blared loudly. Jin rushed to the sensor console, his face grim. "Commander, the Void Dominion ship has entered orbit. They're scanning the surface." Hae-yun stood in her rebuilt armor, feeling its weight and power. It was different from before, heavier, noisier, but it worked. "How long until they find us?" "Hours, maybe less," Jin replied. "Our crash landing damaged the ship's stealth systems." Do-yoon watched them, understanding the danger even if he didn't know all the words. "More bad people coming." "Yes," Hae-yun said. "Many more, and they will hurt anyone they find, including you and other humans." Do-yoon's expression changed. He pulled out his tablet and showed Hae-yun a map of the area. "My home here," he pointed. "Small town here. Many people, not far." Hae-yun understood his concern. The Void Dominion would not care about harming locals during their search. They might even target human settlements out of simple cruelty. "We need to leave," she told her crew. "Draw them away from human populations." "Commander," Sue interrupted. Ta still cannot be moved safely, and our ship cannot fly. He-Yun faced a difficult choice. Stay and risk bringing destruction to innocent humans, or leave Ta behind and try to lead the enemy away. Do-Yoon seemed to sense her dilemma. He spoke quickly, his words mixing their two languages. I have idea. Call help. Human help. Jin looked alarmed. Commander, that would violate every protocol. Contact with local populations is strictly forbidden. The Void Dominion coming here already broke those rules. He-Yun replied. She turned to Do-Yoon. What help? Do-Yoon explained his plan as best he could. He knew people in the nearby town who could be trusted. They could help move Ta to safety and perhaps provide more resources. Other humans see ship. See us? He-Yun asked, concerned. Only few. Good people. Friends. Do-Yoon assured her. Then he added something important. Some work with machines, like me. Can help more. He-Yun weighed her options. Alliance protocols were clear about avoiding contact with developing species, but these were not normal circumstances, and she had already seen how capable this one human was. Maybe his friends could help too. Make the call, she decided. Do-Yoon used his communication device to call his friends. He spoke rapidly in his language, occasionally glancing at He-Yun and the ship. When he finished, he gave them a thumbs up. They come. 2 hours. Bring truck. Medical things. While they waited, He-Yun tested her armor more thoroughly. The movement was still stiff, but Do-Yoon had added something unexpected, a small device attached to the chest piece. What is this? She asked. Do-Yoon smiled. Radio jammer. Block signals. Hide from bad ship. He-Yun was impressed. Without being told, Do-Yoon had understood they needed stealth and built a solution into the armor. The device wasn't as sophisticated as Alliance technology, but its simplicity might actually work in their favor. The Void Dominion would be looking for advanced stealth fields, not basic signal jamming. True to his word, Do-Yoon's friends arrived 2 hours later. 3 vehicles stopped at the edge of the forest, and 5 humans cautiously approached the ship. They froze at the sight of He-Yun and her crew, their faces showing shock but not fear. Do-Yoon stepped forward, speaking soothingly to his friends. He introduced them one by one to He-Yun. Min, a doctor. Jung, a mechanic. Sun, an electronics expert, and 2 others whose skills weren't immediately clear. At first, the humans kept their distance, staring in wonder. Then Min, the doctor, saw Ta through the ship's damaged hull. Without hesitation, she moved forward with her medical bag. I help, she said simply, the same words Do-Yoon had first offered. As the humans began to assist, He-Yun received more troubling news from Jin. Commander, the Void Dominion ship has launched smaller craft. They're beginning their search pattern. He-Yun looked at the humans helping her crew. Contact had been made. There was no going back. Now they had to ensure these humans, and their world, survived what was coming. Night fell over the forest. The humans and aliens worked together to prepare for the coming threat. Ta had been carefully moved to one of the vehicles, hidden under blankets. Young and Sue would go with him to Do-Yoon's home, which was built into the side of a mountain. Good protection from scans. He-Yun, still in her rebuilt armor, stood with Jin and Do-Yoon at the edge of the crash site. Above them, faint lights moved across the sky. Void Dominion search ships. They're getting closer, Jin said, checking a small scanner. Their search pattern will bring them here within an hour. He-Yun nodded. Then we need to be ready. Do-Yoon's friend Sun approached them, carrying a device she had built using parts from both human technology and the crashed ship. Finished, she said proudly, showing it to Do-Yoon. Do-Yoon explained to He-Yun, signal booster, makes your radio jammer stronger. Sun attached the device to He-Yun's armor. The lights on the chest piece glowed brighter, and a soft hum filled the air. Good work, He-Yun told Sun, who smiled despite not understanding the words. Their plan was simple but risky. He-Yun would lead the Void Dominion forces away from both the humans and her injured crew. Jin would stay behind to coordinate with Do-Yoon and his friends. Do-Yoon wasn't happy with this plan. Too dangerous, he argued. You alone. My armor works now, thanks to you, He-Yun replied. And I am a commander of the Stellar Alliance. This is my duty. Do-Yoon stared at her for a long moment, then went to his vehicle. He returned with something wrapped in cloth. Unwrapping it revealed a weapon, not as advanced as Alliance technology, but deadly nonetheless. Take, he insisted. Earth weapon, different from yours. Might surprise them. He-Yun examined the human gun. It was primitive compared to her sidearm, using chemical propellants rather than energy beams. But Do-Yoon was right. Its very simplicity might be an advantage. The Void Dominion would expect Alliance weapons. Thank you, she said, attaching it to her armor. Suddenly, a bright light cut through the trees. A search beam from one of the Void Dominion ships passed nearby. Time to move, Jin warned. He-Yun turned to Do-Yoon. Get everyone to safety. I will draw them away. Do-Yoon grabbed her armored hand. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he said, return safe. He-Yun nodded once, then activated the full power of her rebuilt armor. It hummed loudly, the yellow lights glowing bright in the darkness. With one last look at the humans who had helped save her crew, she turned and moved into the forest. She didn't have to wait long. Less than 10 minutes after leaving the crash site, He-Yun spotted a Void Dominion scout ship hovering above the trees. Using the armor's enhanced strength, she jumped onto a high rock, making herself visible. The response was immediate. The ship's searchlight locked onto her, and a harsh voice boomed from speakers. Alliance soldier identified. Surrender for termination. He-Yun didn't answer. Instead, she activated the signal jammer Do-Yoon had built, disrupting the ship's communications. Then she ran, drawing the ship away from her friends. 2 Void Dominion soldiers dropped from the ship, landing in the forest ahead of her. They wore black armor with glowing red lines, the elite hunters of their force. Their weapons powered up with an ominous whine. Commander He-Yun of the 7th Fleet, one called out. Your ship was destroyed. Your crew is dead. You have nowhere to run. He-Yun stood tall in her mismatched, rebuilt armor. It wasn't pretty or elegant. The joints creaked. The power fluctuated. But it worked. Human ingenuity had given her a second chance. You're wrong, she replied, raising her weapons, both her Alliance sidearm and the human gun Do-Yoon had given her. I'm not running anymore. The soldiers charged, their weapons firing bright red beams that scorched the trees around her. He-Yun's rebuilt armor moved differently than before, but she quickly adapted to its new rhythm. Dodging one beam, she fired back, her shots hitting one soldier's armor. The battle that had seemed lost days ago was now renewed. And this time, He-Yun had something she didn't have before, human innovation on her side. The forest echoed with the sounds of battle. He-Yun moved between trees, using the rebuilt armor's strength to leap distances that would be impossible in her normal body. The 2 Void Dominion soldiers pursued her, their weapons cutting through the night. Your Alliance armor looks broken, one soldier taunted. Like your fleet will be soon. He-Yun didn't waste energy responding. Instead, she activated one of Do-Yoon's additions to the armor, a device that created false heat signatures. The Void Dominion soldiers suddenly saw multiple targets on their sensors. What trick is this? One shouted, firing at a false reading. He-Yun used the confusion to attack, firing Do-Yoon's human weapon. The simple bullets didn't penetrate the enemy's armor completely, but they weren't designed to. The impact knocked one soldier off balance, something he wasn't expecting from what he thought was primitive technology. As the battle continued, He-Yun noticed something strange. The more she moved, the better her armor responded. Do-Yoon's mechanical systems were actually learning her movements, adapting to how she fought. It wasn't as smooth as her original neural interface, But in some ways, it was more direct, more connected to her body's natural rhythm. Her comm unit crackled to life. "Commander, can you hear me?" It was Jin's voice. "I'm a little busy," He-Yun replied, dodging another blast. "Du-Yun says to use the armor's power fluctuations. He built them intentionally." He-Yun was confused. "The fluctuations are a problem." "No," Jin explained. "He made the power surge when you need it. Push the armor to its limits, and it will respond." Understanding dawned on He-Yun. The inconsistent energy flow wasn't a flaw. It was a feature. Du-Yun had designed the armor to store power and release it in bursts when needed. He-Yun changed her tactics. Instead of fighting the armor's quirks, she embraced them. When she felt the power building, she launched herself forward in a powerful attack that surprised the Void Dominion soldiers. "What kind of Alliance technology is this?" one gasped as He-Yun's armored fist cracked his helmet. "Not Alliance," He-Yun replied. "Human." The battle turned in her favor. The Void Dominion soldiers, trained to fight against standard Alliance tactics and technology, couldn't predict the performance of her hybrid armor. When one tried to target her power systems, he found them protected by simple metal shields that blocked his scanner. As He-Yun gained the upper hand, the scout ship above moved lower, its main weapon powering up to assist the soldiers. But before it could fire, something hit it from behind. A small missile, human-made, struck the ship's engine. Not powerful enough to destroy it, but enough to damage its stability. He-Yun looked up to see Du-Yun on a ridge, holding a launcher. Despite her orders to stay safe, he had come to help. With the ship distracted, He-Yun finished off the two soldiers, using her Alliance sidearm to disable their weapons and Du-Yun's gun to knock them unconscious. As the scout ship tried to right itself, a new sound filled the sky. The familiar hum of Alliance engines. 3 ships appeared, their weapons targeting the Void Dominion vessel. "Commander He-Yun," a voice called over her comm. "This is Admiral Kang of the Stellar Alliance. Hold your position." Relief flooded through He-Yun as she watched the Alliance ships quickly capture the damaged Void Dominion scout. Du-Yun ran down from the ridge, stopping a short distance from He-Yun. His eyes were wide with wonder at the sight of more ships in the sky. "Your people?" he asked. "Yes," He-Yun replied. "My people." Admiral Kang's ship landed nearby, and the Admiral approached with a team of officers. He stopped, staring at He-Yun's rebuilt armor with obvious confusion. "Commander, what happened to your standard issue equipment?" he asked. He-Yun looked at Du-Yun, then back at the Admiral. "Sir, I have a lot to report. But first, I'd like to introduce you to someone. This is Du-Yun. He's a human engineer who saved my life, my crew, and helped me defeat the Void Dominion soldiers." The Admiral looked skeptical. "A human? But they're not advanced enough for—" "Sir," He-Yun interrupted respectfully, "I think the Alliance needs to reconsider what we know about humans. They may be exactly what we need in this war." As the sun rose over the forest, He-Yun stood between her two worlds, the advanced Alliance that had raised her, and the resourceful humans who had saved her. Her armor, once broken, now stood as a symbol of what they could achieve together. The battle was won, and a new alliance was about to begin.